Hi everybody, welcome to From Shambles to Shambhala. We are on location today. We had an unprecedented dumping of snow, 2 feet in Victoria, unheard of, very rare occasion. And this, you can just see behind me, are the residual aspects of the snow as we here on this absolutely beautiful, stunning lake. And I was chatting with Carrie Murphy, who's hosting our radio show on Friday the 26th. Down in Texas, where they had incredibly cold weather, such that everything came to an absolute standstill. Nothing was working, no power, no light, no heat, no cell phones, no nothing. 3 days of absolute stillness and blackness. And that's what this time of year is about. It's about going within and digging deep. So you won't be seeing Zia or Sophie today because they are going within to re-energize and revitalize, to return next month, in the month of March, when I'm sure things are going to start moving forward again quite rapidly. I'm always fascinated by this few days because it's the shift between the sun moving out of Aquarius into Pisces. And why I'm always interested in this moment is that in the movement of the sun, it moves out of Aquarius into Pisces, but in terms of the great ages, it goes in the opposite direction. So it goes from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. So it's like two sort of ships crossing in the night as they go past each other, and we're in that exact moment right now, sort of between the 18th and the 22nd. And then you say, okay, which gene key would happen to be being illuminated by the sun at this time? And it is the 55th gene key, which is just remarkable because that is the entry into the age of Aquarius. So we're looking at the transformation then from the end of the age of Pisces into the new age of Aquarius on this moment of the 55th gene key over this 4 or 5 day period. At the same time, we've been going through this Mercury retrograde period for the last 3 weeks. It turns direct on February the 20th. And so what this has been about is digging deep into our past to look at what issues have left unresolved, for us to get completely clear and clearing out the shadow of victimhood of the 55th gene key and the age of the Pisces, so we can indeed set ourselves free. So I urge you to reflect upon what has happened over this last 3 week period to give you a clue as to whatever you needed to continue to clear from the past. And in my life, I had this very interesting situation where I've been thrown back 30 years in my career as a school administrator to deal with a situation from 30 years ago, which has not only taken me into that issue, that situation, but also all the other events taking place at that time and all the people involved. So I've been talking to a lot of people from that era 30 years ago over the last couple of weeks, and really hoping it's coming to a wonderful conclusion right now. So this is classic Mercury retrograde at this time as we move into Pisces, looking back into the past and making sure we've processed everything that needs to be released. And the reason for that was on February the 11th, we had this new moon in Aquarius, and there were 6 planets in that new moon in Aquarius. If you have 5 or more planets in one sign, it's called a stellium. And the last time this grouping of planets happened in Aquarius was back in 1962. And when you look back at what was happening then, it was free love, it was the hippie era, it was JFK, it was civil rights, and focusing on the needs and well-being of the people. Well, that energy has now come full circle back again now, and this is where the people are now going to step up and take over. And so this is the energy that we're now embracing with this new moon in Aquarius on Thursday, February 11th. Now, what I've learned since then is that there are these really interesting planetary alignments such that new moon is going to be reactivated over the course of the next 2 years. It was at 23 degrees Aquarius, and both Jupiter and Saturn over the next 2 years are going to move forward across that point and then come all the way back and go forward again. So it's really important, if you haven't already done so, to set some very, very clear intentions for yourself for this time period, for the next 2 years, as this new moon in Aquarius begins to open up. So what does that represent? Well, when I look at that, I look into that 55th gene key, because that is the gene key of this moment in time. And it's the only gene key where Richard Rudd does any prophesizing about the future. And in it, he talks about the fact that it's the only gene key where the gift and the city are the same. And the way he describes that is that the shadow of victimhood is where we show any signs of being a victim of anything. And we know that when we're either complaining or blaming. So what he's basically saying is, as you move up out of the shadow of victimhood into the gift of freedom, so the city of freedom descends down into the gift of freedom. And so then, as that takes place, then the whole of the shadow of the 55th of victimhood can be completely transformed and transcended and transmuted. We can let go of any form of victimhood whatsoever to lead us into this new golden age of peace. And he actually says this is when we can begin the great awakening in earnest. And that's how important this is. So I really encourage you to look deeply into yourself and to set some clear intentions about what absolute and total freedom would be for you in your life. No restrictions, no limitations. Because Jupiter's going to expand whatever you set for your intentions. Dreaming your biggest dream, it's going to be even better than that. And then Saturn is about setting the new structure in integrity for this new age. So there's this absolutely wonderful opportunity for us to step through into this higher frequency. The other thing to note is that we are being pushed and forced right now to really examine deeply what gives us our freedom and what prevents us from being free. And through the 55th gene key, Richard will talk about it's to do with our emotions and our relationships. So it's also an important time to look into those relationships, to see those relationships that we need to let go. Those people in our lives that are now not in a vibrational frequency. And that may be true with people, it may be true with your job, it may be to do with the place in which you live. But that energy of Uranus opposing Saturn is going to say to you, if you don't do it yourself, something's going to happen to force you to. And so it's much better for you to take control of the situation than for something else happen in the external world to force you into that shift. So this is that time of deep, deep looking within into our deepest possible honesty with ourselves, to make it really clear, this is what I need in my life to set myself free. And then when we all do that, we create this beautiful collective energetic freedom for the future for all of humanity. And it's really important to not focus on all the stuff that's going out on in the world, and just let all of that go, because it's all going to dismantle and dissolve away if it's not in integrity. So be in your own integrity and just step forward into the future with absolute crystal clear clarity on what you want your life to be in the future. And when you're out in nature, as I am right now with this beautiful view and scene behind me, pay attention to the light frequencies. Zia and I have become very aware as we go out on location to do this work with Mother Earth herself, that there's been this absolute phenomenal light frequency coming through. It's got this, you could even see it on the water behind me now, there's this beautiful plasma type feel to the light, and it's bringing through this wonderful light phenomenon with different shades of color and rainbows and just these impressions that are just coming through. And what we mustn't do is try and work out how on earth is that happening, but just to be in awe and wonder of these frequencies. And it actually comes through the 11th gene key. It is the city of the 11th gene key, and the word is light. And this is an extra special opportunity that Mother Earth is presenting to us to really embrace this wonderful light frequency coming through and the light phenomenon that are being created. So I hope you have a wonderful month. Zia and Sophie will be back in March to share their journey with us, and I wish you well for this month to come.